welcome to the second podcast for the Revolution 236 network. My name is, for all intents and purposes, Revolution. I'd like to consider myself the voice of revolution, as we are now living in a time period when people obviously have begun to speak up and need to speak up and need to take a stand, as we now have come to realize that the America that we have grown up knowing, appreciating, loving, their free, in our freedoms, it's now under attack, especially given the results of the second election. But be that as it may, a little background information on the blog/network that I'm now trying to grow, trying to develop. As I said, it is an entire network. I'm running it through a central blog. And my idea for the blog in that respect is that not only would it be a blog with articles, but it will also be a centrally located place where you'll have a chance to read what I have to say via the written word. There will also be YouTube selections that I will post of potentially things that I have to say, podcasts, perhaps even live shows, dependent upon whether or not I can build enough of a following. It is a network because I've got a bunch of pages. Revolution 236 has a Twitter page at Revolution 236, so if you would like to tweet me directly, that'd be great. It has a Facebook page, which can be found at Revolution 2, the TWO, capital TWO, dash 3, THREE with a capital T, dash 6, SIX, and the S there would be lowercase. If you like what you hear, what you read on the site, I'd appreciate a like on the Facebook page. That would be great. The YouTube page for the network is Revolution number 2, 30, THRTY 6, number 6. Ustream, and hopefully I'll get to use that, perhaps having live call-in talk shows, would be Revolution TWO 30SIX, and all of my podcasts, in addition to being found on the site, can also be found at an Audioboo page, AUDIOBOO, and it can be found under Revolution 236, the numbers. Okay, so as I've pointed out, and I should say I may have pointed out on the previous podcast, and certainly as I've pointed out on the in some of my pieces already, which I'll discuss momentarily, and as I have up towards the top of the header on the blog, the time has indeed come. But the thing is, the thing before I started this venture, as small time as it is right now, my thinking was that we can discuss all of the policies and all of the day-to-day things, crazy as they are, that are coming out of the Obama administration, the Obama White House, until we're blue in the face, and it's not really going to make a lot of difference. My thought is that this has to start at the foundation. I realize there are a lot of other much larger organizations, such as FreedomWorks, that they do great work. The Franklin Center, the Heritage Foundation, they're all doing marvelous work, and they're doing the very same thing. Obviously, they're way ahead of someone as small as myself, but that's the right idea. It has to start at the bottom. We've got to start at the foundation and start building ourselves back up. We can't start with the roof of the house. We have to start with the foundation. And in that respect, my idea for the blog is, I think the time has come to discuss larger ideas and larger concepts, not just whether or not we can repeal Obamacare. Okay? We need to understand, people need to understand the ideological, philosophical, and psychological underpinnings of these people that call themselves liberals, and they're anything but liberators. They are totalitarians, but that's something that we'll get to down the road. We've got to understand, and believe me, I do understand what these people are all about. We have to understand the very mindset of the people who would overthrow our society and our culture. So, what have I done on the blog so far? Well, in addition to the one podcast, there are also 5 articles up there that, if you haven't had a chance to read them, I'd love it if you would. I would love some comments because I would love to. I would love to have some discussion stirred up. Hopefully, not anything anything too confrontational. Okay, it has to be. I'm really hoping for real discussion. Discussion founded in a respect for one another's ideas. Hopefully, I'm not just. I realize that in some respect I'd be preaching to the choir, people who are going to listen to this, but I really hope that there are hopefully, some common sense liberals who aren't so blinded by their ideology that they're willing to sit and listen, and hopefully they will come to understand that the conservative mindset is really founded in nothing more than common sense and the common sense of individual rights. In any event, the articles that I've put up so far, the first one was a reaction to the results of the election, disastrous as they were. The second piece was one in which I explored the nature of anything that is politically leftist, and that goes all the way back to the French Revolution. Okay, people on the left would love to have you believe, they would love to have themselves believe, that they are people of peace. They're not. They're people of violence. Okay, and I can go right through the history discussing that. And they, as much as they would love to rejig everyone's understanding of politics, nothing is going to change that. I can tack off 5 off the top of my head from going back to the French Revolution that clearly illustrates that the violence always comes from the left. The third piece was a discussion of conservatism simply as a philosophy. The piece after that, I discussed what our federal government has done to eliminate competition from the very eliminate the heart of our economic engine, our capitalistic economic engine, which is competition, and they are trying to now control the economy themselves, which would do nothing but drive prices up on all sorts of everyday things for the people. And finally, the last piece that I put up was a psychological profile of what is considered a liberal, and namely that people who consider themselves liberals are at some level, deep in their soul someplace, they are very, very insecure people who desperately need the reaffirmation of the herd, of the crowd. They may not want to see that. Maybe they can't see that. But it is what it is. But the main focus of this second podcast is going to be education. And obviously, what I'm trying to do here in a certain respect is education. But be that as it may, what I have planned here is a multi-part podcast series on what has happened to education, and I suppose, truth be told, I'm probably going to be discussing more of what has happened to education in this country than I am what should be done. I certainly have some thoughts about what should be done, and I think I'm fairly uniquely positioned to offer my thoughts either on the history or on the future of education, simply because I'm a 20-year educator. I am now the administrator, I should say not the administrator, an administrator of a Catholic all boys college preparatory high school in which common sense still lives. It is, for all intents and purposes, I'll exaggerate to make a point here. It is still the 1950s at our school. The young men come to school in jackets and ties. There is respect absolutely expected of all the young men. And make a long story short, our school is one of the models in our particular state, in our region, and it is probably one of the top 2 or 3 schools in our region. So much so that we receive a lot of vitriol from our neighboring public schools and their systems. Okay, so before I go further, I'm going to take a quick break here so I can switch over part of the format here, and then on the flip side, we'll get into the real meat of the discussion. Okay, stay tuned. Be right back.